Battlegrounds, a weekly podcast and monthly game club where we play games and brew thoughtful conversation together. I'm your host, Jenny Wyndham.
And I'm Joel Thomas.
And I am tired.
And I'm giving you spirit fingers. I've decided this is my new thing while you intro us, is I'm just going to spirit finger you.
It has been tradition. You've always done like
something.
Spirit fingers, yeah.
But now we're going full, I'm just sending you the spirit finger energy today.
Thank you.
Those aren't spirit fingers. These are spirit fingers.
That was a reference for all the millennials out there.
1999.
Wow. Oh my gosh. But for folks who are new, or if you need a refresher, we are a game club. We take on the form of a podcast, a newsletter, and a Discord community. And we like to play one game a month together. Sometimes we throw in bonus brews. A loose reminder, it's official bonus brew, but it's like the unofficial game is Okami. We're going to be talking about that more in April, but if you wanted to be playing it now, it's the time. The game we're focusing on this month, though, is Arco, and we are going to be talking about Act 3 in today's episode. Full spoilers, everything about Act 3 and all the acts preceding it are on the table for today. So if you haven't listened to previous episodes, it's a good chance. Maybe go back one, since the last one was our first Arco episode. And before that, though, we're going to hop into our tradition, the pastry case.
The pastry case.
It's our grab bag of topics not related to the game of the month. It's just what we're watching, playing, and reading outside of our selection. I didn't really look, honestly, at the game industry to see if there's anything in particular happening. I know that in general, the game industry is just preparing for like springtime events. GDC is next week. Then we have PAX East. And then we have, I think there's somewhere in there like a Toronto Game Week and a summer game. We have a lot of events coming up.
It's event time.
It's event time. And admittedly, I've been focusing on my own main priority, which is the launch of Wonderstop. So we're just going to hop into what we've just been engaging with. No news today. Just what have you been up to,
I actually
Joel?
have some really important news, and that is the lovely Jenny got me a new gamer journal for the year, and I've started it off. You can already not read any of my handwriting, but we're rocking that Hobonichi Techo Life A4 size.
Yes.
Great paper. So thank you, Jenny, for the thoughtful gift.
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy. I was really excited when I saw that cover, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, I know it's not the Pacific Northwest, but it has like, it's got energy there that feels very resonant towards the Pacific Northwest, and it's just beautiful in general. So
we have kind of for those of you who are not part of the Discord community, we have a bit of a game journal conversation always percolating in the background. So if y'all got a new game journal for the year, or you're rocking some new things, we'd love to see what you're about.
I need to get a little bit better because I have been so busy. I've been typing up my notes. Actually, the show notes that you see, a little bit of
I was wondering, they're so specific.
Yes, it's because the show notes you see are actually the notes that I'm typing as I play. Because I have just been so busy, just like, because writing, it does take longer. And so I just haven't had the bandwidth to do that with everything else going on. And so I'm excited because after this week, my time, I say this every time, but I swear this is it. My time is going to free up so much.
So much.
I say it enough times, it's going to happen at least one. A clock can be right, twice a day? So I could be right at least once about this. So I'm excited to get back into hand journaling, handcrafted journaling.
I heard you were going to start having AI take notes for you. So
oh my God, no, boo, boo. Try to get me canceled out of here.
Get in the comments. No. Get after her. Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be honest. I have been trying to find some like fun, engaging activities that are not very heavy. And so I picked up Astrobot for PS5, won some awards last year. I really loved the tech demo that came with the PS5, so I was pretty excited for the game, and
Mm-hmm.
it is fun. Here to report, friends, it's fun. If you're looking for a fun time and not a hard time,
Yeah.
would recommend. So this it's been a good time, and I had my brother in town last week, and he was playing it with me. There's the moments where you get to
Cute.
blow on your controller and things like that, and it's
Fun.
just like he was joyful playing it. I was like, okay, we got something
Cute.
going on here. I did watch Mickey 17, and don't know if I can say a full recommend for me. Great message, great acting, great story. Timing wise, just a little rough to watch something that's kind of directly drawing parallels to our current political reality. And it's like, yeah, they're explaining that it's bad, but it's kind of like this jokey thing while a lot of very serious things are happening. So it's hard to balance
Yeah.
that, you know?
That's tough, especially because like with the way that movies are made, it's like they've been making this for years before
Yeah.
things like have escalated to the point they are now. So it's like maybe it was created in a timeline and hope that this would not be the reality and
Mm-hmm.
that we could laugh about it. Um,
It's like I
yeah.
mentioned this earlier. It's like if Trump had lost the election, I could watch this and find joy in it, and like maybe it'd make some people think and ask questions. But the reality that we're in right now is just like
Mm,
it feels like a bit of an echo chamber movie experience in
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know. In terms of other things I'm into, I did just finish, much to Jenny's chagrin, The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, the Brandon Sanderson joint. I will just say, in full transparency, I audiobooked it and I had a delightful time with this total shithead main character. But very much understand why, if you were reading the book, you would maybe not find that joy.
Yeah, I think, I will eventually probably give the audiobook a try. For folks who maybe didn't know, because I forget if we've mentioned this, I did not enjoy this book. So, yeah. So that's cool though. Again,
You know,
different place, or not different place, different tastes. And I think also it's really interesting to think about like the ways that we are experiencing media can definitely change
oh yeah.
how we perceive it and how we take it in. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just give a quick plug because I've literally just made it through the forward. I just started Never Whistle at Night, an Indigenous dark fiction
Yes.
anthology. This has been on my TBR, my bedside for months, so I'm thrilled to be diving into that.
It's in I'm reading it right now. So that's
Oh, what?
surprise book club.
Surprise book club, everybody. That's
Wow.
Geeks and Grounds going forward. Real books, not games.
Yeah.
So what about you? What have you been getting into?
I have been reading a fair amount, which has been really exciting because that was one of my goals this year was I love reading. I've just not been good about finding the time, and this year I have. I read a book called This Will Be Fun, and it was mostly fun until the last probably quarter, I would say third to a quarter. The premise is one that I love. It's after you've saved the world, what happens to the heroic party. And the premise was about how these group of heroes really 10 years later are not happy, they don't feel heroic, and they're having to reunite for this like big uh the queen's wedding, and they're having to come back together. And there was a lot with the book that I think people could nitpick. Like they insert a lot of modern, this is like a thing that I also didn't realize people really made a big deal out of. What There's a lot of modern language and technology that's sort of satirized in there.
Ah,
And I think one complaint I've seen folks have with this book is like, you have these references or this slang that you wouldn't find in a fantasy world, but I don't really care about that. I'm
no.
like, it's fantasy, whatever.
Have fun.
Have
Yeah.
fun with it. I loved that there was sort of this enemies to lovers vibe and romance where you have these characters who were a part of a questing party together. There was definite tension, and then something happened between them that really pushed them apart, and it's about them coming back together. I was like, that's wonderful. Love it. The last like third to a quarter really borked it up for me, and there were just these plot elements thrown out and plot elements thrown in that felt so inconsistent and rushed. I almost wished I had not finished the book and like left it
Oh,
half to, you know, 2/3 read, which is a really unfortunate feeling because the premise was so good. So
a bit of
yeah.
a brutal review. I will say, on this
Yeah.
note of like what's going on with heroes right after their heroic adventure, I did just see the preview for the new Powerpuff Girls TV show, live
What?
action CW.
What?
And the vibe is like they fought and won, and now they are adults and they aren't heroing anymore, and their lives are all in ruins, and they have to go back to Townsville to try and fight off the darkness again.
What?
Like adult satire. Obviously, it's CW, so everybody's like
Right.
super hot, like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh man. Yeah, honestly, I will watch it.
I
That's
would too.
like that's like my kind of, hey, on Friday after work, how do I want to decompress? Give
That was
me cheesy TV. Oh my gosh.
is exactly how I felt. I was like, this is so silly, and where do I add it to my watch list?
Exactly. I would definitely watch that. And I loved the Powerpuff Girls so much.
Same.
So yeah, this will be fun. I will say it, like everything aside, it was a lighthearted, generally fun read. If you can just not take it seriously, I'd give it like if I had to give a numbered score, it's like a 3 out of 5. You
Hmm.
know, it's not like fabulous, it's not unreadable. It's just God, the ending just real. I just really wish I did not know the ending.
What a bummer.
I need to like fanfic my own version there. Um, I did read. Did you read Piranesi?
I did. What
Yeah,
did you think? Or did you just start it? Where are you?
barreled through it. I finished it in a day. I like sat there and just read, and
Oh.
it was really beautiful. And it was actually quite nice to read after. This will be fun because it started. Piranesi is a book that is really inspired by the labyrinth, like the old Greek labyrinth, not the one with David Bowie, which I guess that's inspired by it too. But yeah, so it's the story where you are dropped in, and I love it. It does the thing that some of my favorite video games do, where they tell you nothing, and you have to really pay attention as you read to pick up on these clues and figure out the mystery as the character themselves is figuring out the mystery. Of course, as a reader, you are privy to a lot more, but I thought the way that this built was really fun. It's like the first half felt like this dream. Like it felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
going through a dreamscape
Mm-hmm.
as I was reading, and it was such a beautiful feeling. And then the last half is like really action packed, and really fast paced in terms of the information you learn and the stuff that happens. So I would highly recommend Piranesi uh, if you are going between the two.
I
Really great.
love that. I'm
Yeah,
glad that you
lovely
enjoyed
fantasy.
it. I
Hmm.
really the other big book that she wrote, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, is
Hmm.
like one of my faves. The BBC series is absolutely incredible. And I think there was a degree of Piranesi for me where I just wanted a bit more. It's a pretty short book.
Yeah.
Um and I was thinking like, oh, like Norrell is like this very dense, like footnotes on
Hmm.
footnotes, and going from that to Piranesi, which is very much like we're getting to the action, moving through it. It's like I kind of wanted just a bit more from
Yeah.
that, but otherwise, like I had a really fun time with Piranesi. I thought it was really
Yeah,
good.
I thought it was lovely. I think I I will say a lot of people like really hyped it up for me, and they were
Mm.
like, this is revolutionary. I like it changed the way I thought about. I don't think it's that
Hmm.
like
Not for me.
life changing for
Okay.
me, but I thought it was really really beautifully done, and
Hmm.
it's I think going to be a fantasy book I return to if I ever want something in that dreamy sort of vibe, because there's just some beautiful descriptions of this, like these corridors that are super long, like there's sort of this ocean that is trapped within this labyrinth, and just sitting and thinking about that environment was really cool. Like I was like, I wish I could go to that place. It was awesome.
Well, now that I can't enjoy Ocean at the end of the lane anymore, maybe this can be my new like short
There we go.
comfort read fantasy book.
Hmm. And then let's see. The last thing I wanted to shout, two last things. So the first is White Lotus, continues to just really do a number on me every Sunday.
I haven't watched the
So,
new one yet.
oh my gosh, it's interesting because it felt a little bit like, especially without Jennifer Coolidge in this season, the vibe is very different. It
Mm-hmm.
feels more subdued in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a slightly slower burn, especially compared to like the Italy season, season 2. But this last episode just changed the game. And
Oh my, okay.
I have so many predictions, and I'm very excited to see what happens. And I wanted to shout out, oh my gosh, there's a show that I'm watching. I just started it. It's called When Life Gives You Tangerines, and it is a right now from what I've seen is it's a drama, very slice of life drama about a young girl and her story growing up on Jeju Island, which is an island in South Korea, off the coast of South Korea, and it's currently focused on the relationship she has with her mom, who is one of like there's a sort of deep sea divers, the women who deep sea dive off of the coast, and they get like abalone, and they're very famous, but it's sort of this dying like art form slash job. And so her mom is one of these divers, and it's about her and her mom. And I think eventually it turns into this more sort of like her life story and how she falls in love. So it's going to be like a love drama. But it's been so beautiful to watch. And at least in terms of this mother daughter relationship in the first episode, they have done an incredible job. I texted my mom and I was like, Mom, you need to watch this and cry. We need to cry together. So I'm excited to watch more of When Life Gives You Tangerines.
I'll have to try it out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Jeju Island, a big moment, right? Having a big moment right now. Solo leveling takes place around there, which is like the most popular anime, like action anime out right now. So,
Wait, really?
yep.
Wait, is it a Korean anime? Like,
No, but it takes
okay.
place in South Korea because everyone had to flee Jeju
Oh,
Island when these like monsters attacked. And so I was trying to understand. I was like, all the
okay.
characters' names are Korean, and then in this season they're like, oh, Japan's gonna send some heroes over, but they're all speaking Japanese. Like the language that it's written in
Yeah,
is Japanese. So I was like, okay, so it's a Japanese anime. It just takes place in Korea,
got
and
it.
yeah. But if the weird thing is just that like because they have to explain characters speaking different languages,
Yeah,
but they're both speaking Japanese. It's just kind of a funny little thing where they have like a translator going back and forth. And as the
yeah.
audience member, I'm like, okay, well, we need like maybe there's a bug and we just all speak the same language or
Right.
something. But
Yeah, exactly. Let's just like make that happen. Interesting. Yeah. No, I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, I've been really excited because there are a bunch of K dramas that I have just on my list, and Korean like movies that I really want to watch. And again, I have had such limited spare time the last 2 months because of the back-to-back launches and like other stuff happening with work. And so it's like I'm just very excited to have a lot of time to just enjoy and catch up on a lot of things that I haven't been able to.
that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm. To close out the pastry case, we've got some notable releases this week. I am going to hype myself and my team up. Wonderstop launching on the 11th. A game about change in tea is the tagline that we've kind of been using, but really it's a taking on a lot of mechanics that you may recognize from cozier titles, but there is a very emotional, pretty hard-hitting story about at least on some levels about burnout, about passion,
Mm.
and what happens when you lose sight of who you are, and what your passions may be. So if
Yeah,
you if that resonates, which I feel
yeah.
like it
Did you make
it's
a game
kind of,
about me, Jenny?
it's funny because I have been feeling so conflicted because I am so happy that people have been connecting with this game.
Mm.
Just in terms of I've been sending out keys, getting feedback from reviewers and from content creators. And I'm like, I'm writing them emails and being like, I hope you enjoy the game. In the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I guess if you enjoy it, it means you connect with it. But I'm also sad because we're all tired and burned out, I guess. So
literally, I was
fun.
in yoga class a couple of days ago, and they're like, "We're doing a book study on burnout," and it's like the yoga teacher was like, "Man, I need that," and I was like, "When the yoga teacher's saying that,
Oh my
what is
gosh.
happening in our culture?"
It's so, yeah, it's bad. So that's Wander Stop. If that resonates, definitely check it out. On a much more lighthearted level, Call of Boba has launched on March 10th. That is super cute. It's just pixel art, making boba, serving sweets. You're, I think, a little penguin or a little bird, if I'm remembering correctly. Just lighthearted. If you're like, I don't want to talk about burnout and exhaustion and losing my passion, um, Call of Boba's there. And then I had mentioned this over our Steam Next Fest coverage last week, but Centum is out on March 11th, and I am very excited to play it. It's psychological horror meets escape room adventure game. I don't know what it's really about other than that, but it looks good. So the demo was fun.
Between this and Blueprints, there's something about
Oh
like
my gosh.
escape room mentalities that are just like really appealing to me right now.
Mm-hmm. And Blueprints, wait, that's not launching. I think that's April,
Yeah,
right?
I think it was a little bit later.
Okay. I was like, wait, is Blueprints launching next week? Because I would be, oh man, I would just call sick for GDC and just play the game. Yeah, April 10th. All right. So we got a little time before Blueprints. So yeah, that is it for the pastry case. As always, visit geeksandgrounds.com for the sign up if you'd like this in a newsletter form. Full disclosure, I have not sent the newsletter the last 2 weeks because it's been so busy.
It's been a time.
It's been a time. I have the draft, which is also wild because I'm like, it's drafted. I just haven't copy and pasted it in. So I will be doing that for sure this week, just so that we have at least a comprehensive view of like the first half of Arco and all of the stuff we've been talking about. So yay, life.
Yay!
But yeah, just to give a heads up, because I got a couple of messages from folks being like, I don't know if the newsletter's working. It technically is.
It is working.
The technology is working, but
Actually, the fact that you didn't get one is proof that the technology is working. Because if you got one,
exactly,
that would be a bad sign. Because
exactly,
we didn't send one. So,
yep. So
good job. We
yeah,
proved the technology works.
exactly. I love that.
Yeah,
so we've just been proving it correct.
We're just gonna shift that narrative. That's what my therapist would tell me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that brings us to this month's brew. We are again talking about Arco Act 3. We have covered everything else in a previous episode, but we'll still refer to it, and we're not going to spoil anything past Act 3. So that's your heads up for spoilers and all of that good stuff. Joel, what happened? What's going on?
I gotta say, it felt very good to put down the mantle of Tizo, this brash warrior out for blood, doesn't stop to ask questions, just there to kick ass and take names. It's good to put that character down and to take on a new character.
Yeah.
And now this character, get this, badass fighter, out for blood, willing to burn the world down to make the world a better place. We have, is it Itzai? I'm not sure how you chose to pronounce it in your head.
I think
but
I was pronouncing it Itzai in my head.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we start off in a new setting. We are, is it a Connect settlements? Is that kind of the vibe that you were getting?
That was my initial vibe, and then you'll see in the notes here, I like went back and forth because I was like, wait, maybe we're not a part of the Connect tribe, maybe we're a different tribe. And then I thought we were, maybe there was a reference to a tribe called I think it's Masatok tribe or Makatok tribe. I thought maybe we were part of that tribe, and then by the end I think I circled back to, I think we're Connect.
JK, we're Connect is what it says in the notes. This is how we know AI notes would not work for Jenny, because it's going to try and fill in those bubbles. And it's like, we're seeing these little like pixel art sprites, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's a Connect outfit. I think that's what's going on here. But yeah. You're a young person, and it seems like a young woman based on the like pronouns we get later in the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And your uncle is the person who's been raising you, and you very much have the energy of rambunctious young warrior ready to prove themselves, and you kind of have this reputation that like you're gonna be a great warrior,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Like, it's just an interesting perspective to have.
I found it I really like how all of these characters seem to not be super well liked by their communities.
So real.
Like Tizo was loved by, his family when he was younger, but as an adult, like he doesn't seem to connect very strongly with any group. And it's funny because Itze is like part of this community and she has her uncle, but like you interact with folks and you get the sense that you have a bit of a big head. You maybe don't listen to people, you don't treat them super well. So you're not like a bad person, but you're kind of a jerk at the same time.
If you were to think of like the energy of like a 20-year-old kid that just has the answer to every question, is going to make sure you know it,
Mm-hmm.
that's the energy that I got from
Yeah.
Itse.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, the opening is you proving yourself on the battleground with your uncle and friends.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that you have this noted, but it's also like you are playing more of a melee style character. You're punching, you're charging.
Yeah.
What was your experience like changing that dynamic? How did that feel for you?
I mean, that is that is like my style of play. What I thought was interesting is Tizo required me to be strategic about dodging quite a bit. Like you are
Mm,
constantly running back, or at least the way I played Tizo, I was constantly running back and forth and using that dash dodge to get out of the way. And I loved just like going in and punching really hard. And like we had like a good interrupt, a move that had a really
yes.
solid interrupt. And so I felt like just getting in people's faces was much more my style. So I really liked it. How about you?
I felt similarly, and also stuck to my tried and true strategy of, if I couldn't beat a battle in my first couple tries, just
Hell yeah.
launching huck and dynamite at everybody and then skipping if I couldn't get through it. So,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like, oh, this is a fun new thing to try out. I
Mm-hmm.
thought their jump mechanic was really fun to use, things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
an interesting battle experience.
Yes. But before we went and we did the training, we did have to do a little favor, kind of like with Tizo in the
Hmm.
prologue. It's like, oh, family has a little bit of a request. I think you're supposed to get like chili peppers, or you're supposed to grab something from the forest for your uncle,
Hmm.
and you can take a little detour and you see there is a hidden like shrine or a temple. Um, and I instantly was like, do we have to go to this temple, or is this part of the story? I of course then said, what the heck, I'm going to this temple
Yep. Same.
because
Full
it's a
same.
place to explore.
Yep.
um cool. Okay, I was wondering
I
because
will
it
say, choosing to go to a temple because it's a quote a place to explore. That strategy bit me in the ass in a really hard way later in this chapter. So,
oh, I'm excited to hear it because I feel like that also bit me in the ass really in this game. I feel like
oh,
just
you want to explore?
yeah,
Good luck.
yeah, no, there are a lot of battles. I would say on the gameplay side, this was a heftier chapter.
Yeah.
And I think for me, there were just it was generally well paced, but I still felt like there were more battles than I personally would have liked to have.
Yep.
Because I was also just really excited about the plot and I just wanted to move forward in the story. And anytime I moved anywhere, marauders would come for me. And I
Yeah.
was like, how many marauders are here? Like, oh my God. Um, but yeah, that's just an aside in terms of gameplay sort of pacing overall.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, oh, I have a moment. So crossing the river, I was brought to the Oregon Trail because I kept dying of the slime, and I was like, man, I really can't ford this river. So that was a nice little moment for me. It's like this is just like Oregon Trail.
Yep. I definitely had an Oregon Trail moment or two in this one. So, I think
Hmm.
we're all. I'm guessing it's intentional. I guess we'll find out. But it
Yes.
definitely felt that way.
Yep. But yeah, we go up into this like temple. Is it Zuanar Temple, maybe.
I
I
didn't get the
wrote
name
down the
down.
name. Yeah. But as we go in, there's like an etching or something on the floor that we read that says "A demon alive." And I was like, that's a clear warning. Of course, we're gonna go and check out the demon. So yeah, we go in. We immediately get attacked. Did you pull the lever in the
I
temple?
did pull the lever. Did
You
you?
did. I did. Yeah, and so I think it disabled the trap. At least when I walked across it, it disabled the trap. So as you're in the temple, you come across a mimic, which I loved. I was like,
Love that.
the D&D of this is so good.
They even called it a mimic. It was
Yeah,
great.
it was awesome.
Oh, by the
Um,
way, for the audience, a mimic is a creature that can transform to look like something else. It mimics it. The
mhm.
classic D&D is you go and find a treasure chest, and when you go to open it, it turns out it's this mimic, and it's going to try and chew you up.
Yep, it's very, very good. And so you find the mimic, you defeat it, and in it is a piece of a medallion. And instantly I'm like, mm-mm, this is bad news. And I think you get some dialogue that's like, you've been dipped in shadows. Um,
The
and you feel
Dark Blood
powerful.
God.
Yeah, it's called the Dark Blood God. You look at it in your, because you can see it in your sort of skill tree, and it's just like, this does not feel like good news.
Could be bad.
Hmm.
Could absolutely be bad. Um, I feel like it's fun, like that we have yet again like a young brash kid who's like found something that's going to cause a whole world of trouble. It's like that same thing that we had when Tizo was like a child, where it's like
Hmm.
they chose to be just a little mischievous. They didn't do anything bad, but
Yep.
that's going to lead to a crazy different trajectory for their life.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I can't remember if you mentioned this. Did you say you did pull the lever for the near the spiky floor?
I did, yes.
I did as well, and so I'm wondering what happens if you don't.
I would guess because there's the spike
You
trap
think the
thing.
spike hits you?
Yeah, I think it would hit you and you end up with less HP before the boss battle.
Uh-huh. Okay. Did you pick up the shovel and open up the secret path in the temple?
Yes, I did.
Did you find the novel in the secret room?
I did not. What did it say?
All you get is the title, but it
Oh
describes a lost orphan that like left their family,
my
and
god.
like to me it read I my first question was, "Oh, I wonder if this is somehow the story of Tizo." Like I wonder
Mhm.
if, because we don't really know what the connection is between these worlds at this point. But
Right.
it's just like something that I have in the back of my mind, just like tucked away as a little nug.
Oh, that's
Like,
so
what's going on there?
cool. Oh my gosh, I love that. Um so after you exit, you find like an additional exit because you were trapped with the mimic, and you go home, you grab the chilies and go home. Uncle is really not pleased because you come back and you're like, look at what I found. You have this medallion, and Uncle is like, that place is cursed. You are now cursed. He makes a point about not touching the medallion, and you also get these irrational thoughts, or at
Hmm.
least they're not posed as, they're not explicitly irrational, but as players we know, like all of a sudden you are worried about your uncle taking the medallion. This is, I wrote down Gollum moment.
Uh-huh. I had Matt Cawthon from Wheel of Time moment.
Yep. Where all of a sudden this tiny piece of power that you have somehow gotten a hold of is already making its way into your psyche and making you suspicious of anyone wanting to take it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's something about this that was very like archetypal to me. Like
Hmm.
we just referenced two story examples. I
Yep.
could probably think of a half a dozen others. Like there's something about the like cursed object that ultimately changes the way you see the world, that forces you to go on this quest. I
Hmm.
just really like that as a story archetype.
Yeah.
And I thought the uncle's response coming back, where it's like, is probably very scary to be Itzai, and like being told, you can't be a part of this community anymore. Like, I guess you can try and find like a holy grounds to go get yourself cleansed, but like
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of like, wait, but I don't understand what's going on, and I'm being punished for something, but I didn't do anything wrong. And like,
Yeah.
it just felt that was kind of like one of those gut clenching moments for me that just felt very
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is an archetypal moment, and also just like the symbol of this item like you were talking about is one that I really really love. And I think also the fact that this idea oh my gosh, you'll know this maybe because it feels like a superhero quote or something, but it's like the way power corrupting, like power corrupts
Oh,
absolute.
absolute power corrupts, or power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it has that energy to it. And what's interesting to me is it's like this is not the full medallion. This is a taste of it. This is a part of it. And so it's like thinking about the newcomers coming in, and it's not the entire country yet has moved over, but it's this taste of this other civilization, this other way of living and
Mm.
thinking about the environment. It's like, what is this taste of something doing to impact you? So I thought that was really interesting to think about. Um, and yeah, I also wondered, are we going to complete the medallion? Are we having to have, will we have the opportunity to do that? Or
Oh,
is it just a piece? That was
interesting.
like my first thought. Cause if you get a piece of something in a game, usually it's like to collect all of them. And I was
Yeah.
like, are we going to collect all of them?
Hmm.
I didn't, at least in the rest of this section. I
Well,
don't
it's interesting
think.
because
But
like they kind of pose like you get loosely this idea that you could find holy ground, see yourself cleansed, but like you don't necessarily get any indication from the character that this is like the character's priority.
yeah, yeah.
Not in the dialogue at least. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to pursue this, but like the character doesn't be like, oh, I've got to get to holy ground and like get
Mm-hmm.
cleansed. And I think even like the looseness of the story for the rest of this chapter reflects that they're
Mm-hmm.
like in the same way that Tizo is kind of like will murder any gang that they come across. You feel that same kind of like I'm just loosely making my way through these areas. I kind of have this idea that I'm going somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna kill folks along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think again, one of the things as we're like going and on this adventure, we have a lot of moments where we get to learn a little bit more about this new character that we're embodying, Itze. But we go through a lot of like very fantastical things. I put in a link because I had never heard of these creatures before, but we meet the goblin like creatures called they're called Trasgoos or Trasnos. Um, and I am going to link the Wikipedia article here,
Cool.
but basically they're similar to like gnomes, kobolds, sylphs, basically like little goblin type creatures. I think what's really interesting is to get rid of them. Uh, at least according to this lore, it says you have to request an impossible task. And because they think themselves capable of doing anything, they'll accept the challenge and be so stubborn they'll try until they exhaust themselves. So I don't know
Huh.
how much fidelity, compared to like what we see in the game, but I thought that was really interesting. Trasgu's pranks are also like told within a lot of I think like Spanish literature, it seems. So yeah, really
So,
cool.
what was your interaction with the Trasgos? Because for me, it was like they were like, "Hey, don't touch that thing. That thing is ours." I don't remember what it was, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, I won't." And then I bought things from them and then moved on. Was that?
Yeah.
Did you
That
actually like bring on their rage and ire?
No, I didn't. I actually like I gave one of them a worm and it liked the worm. And so generally I'm like I didn't have any enraged like moments. I
Mm,
don't, at least not at this point. I think
yeah.
later on there was an ambush that I had where I might have gotten ambushed by them as I was exploring like the forest.
Oh, interesting.
If I'm remembering correctly.
I feel
But
like I had to fight a lot of frogs in this chapter, but maybe they were
yes.
Trasgoos and I didn't realize it.
Yeah, no, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. I think there was one ambush I had that was like the Traskas, but I
Oh
am
no!
not sure. I think
Gotta
later
you
on I actually
gotta respect the Trasgoos.
you do. And then later on I actually helped them uh on this like side quest. I went to this like cave and I didn't know I was helping them, but I like defeated a bunch of like the rollies in the cave. I came out and they were super happy and they like said thank you and I gave
Hmm.
them a stick and then my spirit lightened. So that was like a really cool moment.
Whoa! I
Yeah.
haven't seen the Trasgoos since this moment.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool that you got to run into them again. I really was intrigued by them, and I'm bummed that I didn't.
But as you explored, did you encounter the hunter and the marauders camp by any chance?
I don't think so.
Hmm. Well, here is me doing an inadvertent guilty run. Um, so as I was exploring, and kind of going away from home, I meet this hunter, injured, can't walk. He's like, I was hunting and this marauder group ambushed me and I can't hunt anymore. And they took my donkey. And so I was like, oh, that's horrible. I'm gonna go find the marauders and get your donkey back. Yeah, justice. Um, you go to the martyrs camp, you fight them because that's what you do with everyone.
With everyone.
And it turns out, after you kill all but one of the marauders, that one marauder says, "Hey, this was this is our donkey. What are you talking about?" Um, he then says, "You've killed all my brothers, and this person, this hunter, they are preventing us from hunting on our typical territory. So you've actually just murdered a bunch of people without thinking
Oh,
twice." And so
not
this was,
great.
yeah, this was a flash me back to
Whoops.
Tizo. I was like, no, God, no. So that was really messed up. I ended up going back because I don't think you have to, but I was like, I want to go confront the hunter and be like,
Mm,
why did you do that? What was the purpose? And I thought it was really interesting because he basically was like, I this is my land. These people like are coming for my stuff. And I was very taken aback at how he felt very adjacent to the newcomers, like the colonizers, even though he
hmm.
was another Connect person. I believe that he was a Connect hunter. And so that was a really interesting
That's
moment.
fascinating.
Yeah. And there I just felt so bad because you end up being forced into a fight with him, you kill him, and there's a line that just was so brutal to read, and I wrote it down. It said, "You feel no peace as the hunter's eyes turn blank, you're just tired." um oh
What a
yeah.
point of introspection. I wish I had gotten something like that. I did not.
The ghosts, though, I have a lot of ghosts.
I didn't get many ghosts in this run,
Oh,
so I'm glad that you're taking the guilty run this time.
yep,
I
yep.
will say it was about this time that I found a secret ending.
Hmm.
There is a tunnel that you can explore. This
What?
is what I was referencing earlier. And it's like, oh, you can go deeper in. And I went deeper in. It was like, it's getting pretty tight. Are you sure you want to keep going deeper in? And I went deeper in. And they're
Mhm.
like, well, there's not really much room behind you, but you think there might be opening more in front of you. And you go further in. And then there's a tunnel collapse and you're stuck and you die. And that is a secret ending. And there is nothing in the hole.
What? Wait, I think that's the place where the little Trasgos, like
It was
that's,
right after the Trosgos for me.
oh my gosh, cuz I think I remember that tunnel, and instead of going deeper, there's an option to like cut the roots, and I did that,
Yep.
and then I found a hot spring that healed me.
Well, I got a secret ending,
Oh my,
so there you
that's true.
go.
You got a real life
It
like cool
literally
achievement.
says you have found the secret ending. You have died.
That's
That was my
amazing.
Oregon Trail moment for
Oh,
sure.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I am a little jealous. I want a secret ending. Ugh, I just got a hot spring with little goblin.
Oh, it must be so hard.
Yeah. I will say I was happy though cuz I don't know if it's a 1-to-1, but I got a notification that my spirit lightened after I used the hot spring and helped the goblins cuz I think the little bugs were like keeping them out of the hot spring. And so in helping them, I'm hoping it like slightly evened the scales for me for murdering the marauders. I don't think it's a 1-to-1, but
No. Well, I mean, we'll see. You'll also see how many ghosts you
we'll
got
see.
chasing you about when you have your super party in the next chapter.
Yeah. Um And so what I chose to do, because I think after this point you do have the potential for divergence. I don't know if it actually does diverge. And that is, do you have the option to did you take the option to go to the holy ground or to the like arena?
I tried to go to the arena, but I didn't have enough
Ah.
money and I didn't have a fancy hat for the boatman. So instead, I went to the holy ground.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because I got that hat and I forgot to give it back to the boat
Oh, snap.
on the way. I did want to go to the holy ground, but I was like, oh, before I go to the holy ground, I should turn back to go give the hat to the boatman. And then it had locked me out of going back. So I was very sad.
How did you get the hat? Because like I went to the place where he told me to go, and I went to hunt, which is what he told me to do,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
did every permutation you could. Because he's like, go north, go east, whatever, and I
Yeah.
never found it.
I think it was like, I don't think I did anything super special. Because yeah, I remember I went south twice, and I don't remember
No,
if I
I
did
must have
anything
missed
different.
south
Yeah,
twice.
yeah. I'm trying
Bummer.
to think. I cannot remember, and it's not in my notes, so my head does not retain.
But to your point, we do go from here to the holy ground. It sounds like both of us hit this next.
Mm-hmm.
What a wild experience.
Oh my gosh,
Like
I loved it.
there was kind of this like holy stone you could go to before the holy
Mm-hmm.
ground. I went there and like left some
Offerings.
ingredients offerings,
Yeah.
that's the word. The ingredients to my offering. And then you get to the holy ground, which first of all, some of the coolest like low grade pixel art, like
Mm-hmm.
it's this giant stone hand coming out
Yeah,
of the earth with like a pool of water inside of it.
it's beautiful.
And but what's strange is like, and I see that you have this noted too, this like
Mm-hmm.
there's a rock nearby that has 100 like carved into it. Like what's the Arabic numerals, like
Yeah.
100. And it's like, well, this doesn't make any sense for this to be here.
Right?
There's no explanation that I found. Did you get anything on that?
No. And I was like, this is very bizarre because it's the most like human thing you have seen in a long time, I guess, or
Yeah.
especially in the environment itself.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, if anyone has any ideas, please put them in the comments.
I'm very curious about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through the experience with the holy ground. You like dip yourself in the water, you let yourself go.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my experience was you kind of feel yourself and the like dissolving into the water, and you go into this like wild dream sequence that kind of ultimately led to me giving up the medallion. And
Mm-hmm.
like I see the future, like a future world where these newcomers come and like displace all the peoples and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Was that similar to your experience at the holy ground?
Yeah, it was. Um, yeah, I thought it was really, I was like, another battle, dang it. I'm like here. Um, I I really appreciated the scene though, because this idea of like you have come here to remove the curse. Um, in this water, as you dip it yourself into it, you see kind of the world. I think as we know it, the vision. I think it says I wrote here. You see a vision of death, war, and our people cast out of their lands, and yet they stubbornly survive. They adapt and attempt to reclaim their birthright, but it's not recognized by the world. And then you are going to drown in these visions. And I was like, oh my
It was
God,
so heavy.
it's so heavy. And after the battle, that second vision that you see that basically shows that it's not easier per se. There's still conflict, but there is the possibility for change, and you are that possibility if you are willing to take it. And to take it, you have to relinquish the medal. I just thought that was really powerful.
I thought it was extremely powerful paired with the next thing that happened, where like
Mhm.
you go into like a mini battle all of a sudden against like the red company. And like it, to
Yeah.
me, this all still felt like it was part of the vision. I don't know if that was how you interpreted this, but like it felt like it came out of nowhere. And like I'm
Yeah.
battling for some reason and I kill some people, and then you have the chance, and I don't think this has happened elsewhere in the game to this point, where you can let some people go.
Yep.
I chose to let people go because it's like, oh, I haven't gotten to do this yet. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And you get this message, and that essentially says, these are the people that are going to destroy your land. You have to hunt them down and
Mm-hmm.
remove them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also took that option. I didn't feel like in my head, I can see how it would feel like an extension of the vision. For me, it was this mirroring of Tizo at the sacred tree,
Mhm.
because Tizo was going through this like sacred process of like leaving an offering, with the rattle, and then interrupted by the newcomers. And you are, essentially, you've gone through the same thing now as a like more of a teenager or young adult, um, and yeah, so I felt that it was like more of a real thing that happened, and it was just
Mm.
mirroring something that we had experienced earlier in the game with Tizo. But yeah, I let them go. I also love that there's like this lightness that you feel,
Mhm.
and they say the phrase, "You have found your purpose," but it felt very different to me than Tizo's discovery of his purpose.
Interesting. Say more about that.
Yeah, I think I don't I'm still struggling. I feel like this is not exactly the right way to say it, but like I feel like there is more hope for the future and more, there's like a place coming from this person, wants to protect her people, and
Mm.
she wants to foster this like possibility of future for not just herself but for like her people. And it's like this idea of taking these actions out of love for something versus Tizo, who I think currently felt more like me, at least, that he was taking action out of hatred towards the Red Company, not necessarily a love for his
Hmm.
people. Um, and maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into that, but
No.
that felt like the difference in sort of this revenge and killing for this like hatred versus I am doing this to protect. Um, I don't know. I don't know
I
if you
like that a
felt any of
lot.
that.
Well, it's funny because like I had a similar sensation. I just wouldn't have put those same words to it, but now that you described it, yeah, I totally agree. Like this idea that like the spirits will guide you. It was
Hmm.
like it came through loud and clear that these people are going to go on to break pacts and it will all lead to war.
Hmm.
There was something about that that was like a justification, and I mean that in like the spiritual sense, not in like the like making an excuse sense. Like
Yeah.
you are like spiritually justified in the actions that you're going to take, like a holy war kind of a
Hmm.
thing. And the beauty of that moment to be like, you see where the road leads, and and like we know as an audience that like, yeah, the road does lead there. This is
Hmm.
not a hypothetical. Like we know where this road leads. What happens when a person is going to like eat those sins and like do the work to take action and defeat this intruding force, invading
Hmm.
force? And I guess now that you framed it like that, that is very different than Tizo, who is like very disconnected from his spirituality as far as we understand it. And as a young formative, like you're like a young person in this formative moments, like was supposed to have this spiritual experience with this guardian, but
Hmm.
for whatever reason was like shortchanged of that. And so I think to your point, there's something here where it's like maybe Itse is getting something that Tizo was supposed to have. Like Tizo was
Hmm.
supposed to have that kind of spiritual awakening to justify this.
Hmm.
I don't know, something like that. There's something there that was like really meaningful to me as well.
Yeah. Well, no, no. I think also just like connecting it to just like everything that's happening in the real world.
Hmm.
It's like I think a lot about how if you are fighting, like there's a lot of ways we can take action, and there's a lot of reasons that we can like essentially go against, Trump and the Republicans. um, but I think there is a fundamental difference in your ability to sustain action, and
Hmm.
also just like the core of like why you're doing something is really important. And it's like different if you're taking action to like own this group of people and like take them down because they just suck. And it's like, sure, I mean, there's one element of that, but like that shouldn't be your driving factor for
Mm-hmm.
like any of these direct actions that you take to try and make change, because that's like a much more short-sighted way of creation, and like setting yourself up for the future. Whereas if you are saying, well, I like love these people and I want to make sure that we create a world that can sustain through like my love for the people that we have in our community, that feels like there's like a difference. Even if you're doing the same actions, I feel like that intention changes
Yeah,
everything about it.
I think
So
you're right. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. It was just a this will be a standout moment for me from this game, I think,
same.
because like from the holy ground through that battle and like getting your
Hmm.
kind of divine inspiration, that to me is going to be a really standout moment.
Yeah, agreed. Um, and so, with your purpose, we know we need to destroy the Red Company and do whatever we can to save the land. And so, we go back to our journey, and now we're trying to find the Red Company, which feels very familiar. And so, we go through an Io village. I thought this was really interesting because we have another opportunity in which uh, simply going in and killing is not the request, or what the person wants. There's a farmer who asks us for help. I think, what was it, like newcomers are by the river,
Poachers on the
poachers.
land. It was the
Yeah,
exact same setup
yeah,
that Tizo had when he came back and found the village burned to a crisp after he finished the little task.
yep. And
Oh,
oh my gosh, so this farmer, asks us to do it, and Itze's like, oh yeah, I know what you're putting down. I'm gonna finish them off, yeah, for sure. And the person's like, actually no, I was just thinking you could scare them away, like you don't have to kill them. And when you go, oh my gosh, the game did not give me an option to engage with them. Uh I could have probably run past them, but if I chose to engage with them in my head to attempt to just tell them to go away or scare them away, it put us in a battle. There was
hmm.
no, I don't think I had an option to just scare them,
And
if
this
I'm
was not the
remembering.
bow slingers. This is someone else.
No, this was the folks by the
Right.
riverside.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had the same experience.
Okay. I was just like, I thought, okay, sure. It's like,
I got one. I'm a hammer, and everything else is a nail.
yeah. But at the same time, I think I was thinking about it and I'm like, okay, if we had just scared them away, would that have done anything? No. And I think there's a difference where it's like, as Itze, we know that a bit more than I think, like, at least I as a player feel more aware of that than I did with Tizo.
I agree. Like, there's something about like this. Like, I'm eating the sins, right? Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
even let the innocents feel like it's their responsibility. Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking this responsibility. They're even telling me not to do this thing that I feel divinely inspired to do and to like be a part of what I'm into. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely something there that it felt meaningful to me. That they're like, they included this moment of like, no, the villagers are explicitly asking you not to take this action, but you're gonna do it anyway because you have this kind of spiritual mandate.
Right. Which I'm like, I'm very curious to see what happens as we get into the later acts on like what does it mean to, and I don't know if this is where the game is going to go, because there are a couple of avenues I think this game could take, but like, will we see at all what does it mean to be the bearer of that type of burden?
Yeah,
Because I
right.
think already we see it manifesting in different ways between Tizo and Itze, and how they like interact with other people, and also just how they move about the world. And I'd be really interested to see like, what does it mean to say, I see this and I am going to take the burden, knowing what it potentially could do to me to help the whole.
Yep. Yep. Fully agree. I do think it's interesting. I think it's pretty much right after this we do encounter the bow slingers. There's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a
Yep.
you encounter the bow slingers and you're kind of going there thinking that maybe they're up to no good. Like, you're not really sure what the vibe is, and it's like the only time that there's like a diplomatic resolution to any
Yeah.
problem so far in this game. And they're like,
Yes.
yeah, we'll do that thing for you. We just need you to like go buy some things for us the town over and bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then when you do that, you get a new character that joins you. But like
Yes.
the idea of going from the villager asked me explicitly not to kill these people. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I have to kill these people if I want to invoke change. And then I get my first experience as a player to handle a situation diplomatically.
Mm-hmm.
It almost felt like that was like a karmic reward in some
Mm-hmm.
ways for doing this thing, for like murdering these people.
Yeah. I feel like it's not quite the same. I think it feels very different in this level, but it's like it's mirrored a little bit when Tizo goes to the Connect, um, sort of I forget what they called their ruler or like sort of their like leader,
Yeah.
where we went to her and then we got like our buddy there, and it's the aligning force or the aligning sort of thread between is that these are groups that are at least value aligned with us, that they want to go against the red company. The only time we're offered this opportunity are with people who are similarly like ready to fight them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think there's something to be said about like aligning with people who have the same goals as you. Like, don't try to use diplomacy with the red company. It's a waste, because they are not here for diplomacy. They are here with their own goals and agendas that do not align with any kind of actual, conflict resolution.
Interesting that you say that too, because like it's the first time in our conversation with some villagers that we hear about there being a gold rush and this giant oil
Mm-hmm.
find, and that is like what they're here for. Like we knew about the oil being here, but like tying gold and oil together I thought was like a really powerful thing for the game
Mm-hmm.
to do, and really does show like you're up against a system here. You're not up against random bands of people wearing red. Like
Yep.
the system has identified that you have a place to be exploited, and the system will try to exploit.
Yep.
You're not going to talk your way out of that with going to like even finding El Gallo, who's kind of who we
Yeah.
identify as being like the leader of this Red Army faction. Like even he is not going to stop this from happening.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Um, so yeah, after meeting the bow slingers, we have Hernan who's joining us. I just wrote down yay, a ranged character, just because it's
Yay!
like, backup is always good, and to have someone who's like able to actually stay in the back and like be the ranged person while we're in a melee mode. Oh, so useful. So
I
useful.
really liked the combat puzzles we got after
Mm-hmm.
Hernan coming on. It's just,
Yeah.
they were I didn't use dynamite. Like it was fun to do them and figure it out
Yeah.
in a way that like there was just a lot of fighting in this. So there was just a lot of dynamite from Joel in this
Yep.
chapter. So
Yep. So you quest to the company fort, and you immediately like you get to the front door, and they're basically like, let's fight. And the big reveal by the end of this battle, which was a really hard battle, um, is this guy is just another captain. He's another minion. He's not actually El Gallo like you thought. Your information was faulty in that way. This is just a regular fort with sort of henchmen. Um, which again, your princess is in another castle.
yep, it very much like the song rhymes
Mm-hmm.
with Tizo's story.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which perfect metaphor, because once you do win this battle, you get another gorgeous song intermission, and
Oh
you
yeah.
watch as your character. I'm very glad they didn't make us go through and do all of this, but you watch your
Oh my
character
gosh, yeah.
make its way to is it Terminos? Is that the name of the
Yeah,
city?
Termanos, I think.
Termanos. The same town that we left Tizo in at the end of his chapter, and you go to the same bar and you meet him, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the Avengers assemble moment.
Yeah.
Like we're bringing the parties together, baby.
Yeah. No, super satisfactory, because like, yeah, your friend Hernan's like, well, like we need to go to the big city. We need to go to Termanos. And so like that traveling there, I love as a player, we're like, oh my God. is this it? Is this the time when we're gonna go see Tizo again and we're gonna find each other and like both go against the Red Company together? And they did that so well. I love so far the endings for every act have been super satisfying. Like I feel like uh it's just like a really good cherry on top. And so having it like we structured it, with each act each week because it's easier for us to the podcast with it, but it feels like I'm going through this like really good television show episodically with the way that they've really wrapped a bow around every act. I think that's just very well done.
There's a little known indie project from this organization called Marvel, and what they do at the end of
Oh
movies
yeah,
is they'll add these little stingers, and
yeah.
it'll be like, I'm putting a team together. And that was the moment that we had with teaser. So like if you enjoyed that moment, Jenny, I actually would recommend this. Like
Wow.
it's just a small little
I'm
like
just like I should become a Marvel
indie
girly. Is that
project.
the
No, I yeah, totally agree. It was a very, very fun moment to like see all four of these people brought together. And
Mhm.
uh kind of funny to be like the young brash character after playing the old
Yeah.
grizzled character for the last act. So very I had a
Yeah.
good time with that.
I'm really excited to see their dynamic. Um, I think I think there could be a lot of fun there, especially knowing how. Oh my gosh, I am forgetting the name of the other character who paired up with Tizo, who is also the brash
Yeah, I don't
connect.
remember.
I think it was like Cax. I forget what
It's
his
in my
name
other
was.
journal.
Yeah. um, but yeah, I think there could be some really fun, just like dynamics between them. I'm really excited to see where this next act goes. Do you have any predictions?
I okay, so we're living in kind of a fantastical reimagining. We've got
Yeah.
gods, we've got spirits, we've got little goobers that are gonna like help us or make us fight them or whatever.
Yeah.
I would love a world where we go and defeat El Gallo
Mm-hmm.
and like build an appreciation of the spirits and the indigenous culture, and that somehow puts like protection on this land.
Ooh,
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
that would be really nice.
But what I think will actually happen is we will murder El Gallo, and then we're going to learn about, I don't know, goddamn King George the Third, who's going to come and colonize this land, and the Andrew Jackson's going to send in
Oh
a bunch of
God, no.
people. Like, it just feels like where this game is headed with the pure amount of fighting and murder and gore is
Mm-hmm.
to show that like this is the nature. It feels like we're putting a dark spotlight on like this is the nature of humanity and the systems of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I want these four people to have their like we took out everybody and like we get to live happily ever after,
Right.
it feels more like we're going to get a like Princess Mononoke ending where it's like the
Mm-hmm.
world is forever altered
Yeah.
and there is no going back.
Yep. I definitely agree. I think you said earlier, like this isn't about just defeating Gallo, or is it Gallo?
I saw the L and then for at the
Is
beginning,
it?
and then the double L is the
Is
sound.
it the
So
yes
I'm,
sound? Okay, I
oh.
never took Spanish, so I will defer to you on that.
It's been 20 years since I took Spanish, but
um, but yeah, El Gallo. Um, I think it's easy to say, if we defeated El Gallo, we have won. And it's like you may win this battle, but like you mentioned, the system has already set it's like the Eye of Sauron has set itself on this land. And unfortunately, like we know that there is just so much more on the way that is beyond what that has already been established. And so I feel like I don't think the ending will necessarily be a happy one in the sense of it's not going to be like we've saved this land. It's going to be great and we've reclaimed it. But I'm really hoping that perhaps these characters find a way to, if not save the land, at least create their own system. to resist. And I think going back to like what we saw in the Holy Land, like when we were in that pool, this idea of everyone finding a singular purpose that they're all working towards together, and finding a way to like have the better world start with them as a unified like team, and bringing the tribes together. I feel like we can have a small victory, and I would love to see the small victory if possible.
Yeah. I mean, the story needs to exist for a reason, right? And it feels like this story, it has a strong perspective and it's saying something.
Right.
And, you know, it's possible that they end this with like this is violence leads to violence, and that's just the way of humanity story. But it feels like they're driving towards something more profound, perhaps. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we end up going.
Yeah. For next week, we will be covering Act 4. So make sure if you're keeping in time with our playthrough and with our discussion, we will be covering Act 4 next week, Act 5 the week of the 25th, and super excited, on April 1st, and this is not an April Fool's joke.
Oh, no.
That timing is brutal.
Oh, no.
But on April 1st, we are celebrating playing Arco by having a conversation with one of the developers. So similar to our conversation with a la mode games for Sorry We're Closed, if you have questions about the game, its development, the characters, the themes, please start putting them in the comments, put them in the Discord, email them to me, and we will get them in the document to ask and discuss when that episode goes live on April 1st. If you could get those questions to me by let's say the 21st, that would be great, just so we have time to like gather, send them over, and all of that good stuff.
I don't want to go into teacher mode too hard here, but the questions we got for the Sorry We're Closed crew were so good.
They were
and
awesome.
I'd love to see you all pull through with another incredible round of questions. They were just so thoughtful. I really appreciate when you guys provide those to us and let us know what you're curious about.
Exactly. Yeah, it was so much fun. And also it's like, I really love having those questions, because that's what, like, our hope is to facilitate this ability for you to inquire what you're excited about with the game. I know what I'm excited about, but I want to prioritize you all. And so, yeah, I think just to mirror what Joel said, really great questions. Would love to have more for Arco, and very excited for that discussion to come out on the 1st. And last housekeeping, just because we have it here, April 1st is, or April is our Lost Records month, but we will be taking the week of the 8th off, simply because I will have been very tired by that point and traveling to a bunch of places, and we're just going to have a week off of the podcast, little mini spring break, if you will, and we'll be back on the 15th with Lost Records. So just looking ahead, that is the schedule.
I will have been tired is such an interesting grammatical proposition, like the 5th conditional tense or something. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Don't we all just love language here?
Oh my gosh. And this is how I am tired, that I'm crafting sentences like that.
It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
It's true. It's a real thing. Absolutely incredible. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another discussion of Arco. Make sure you're getting to the comments, leave us your questions, and get into the game, and get into is it Act 4 for next week?
Yes.
We are eager to hear what the community has to say. I did realize in this most recent act that if you eat tacos, you get HP. And so I'm going to just suggest, if any of you are feeling a little low on hearts today, that you reward yourself with some tacos and think of us.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.